A kind day to you all, I am Kinsmarck, and this is the Accent Challenge, a sort of Q&A meme centered around one's accent, which I've received a request to record. So, commence the challenge! Alright, your name and username. My actual name is Cliff Davenport, and my middle name shall remain forever shrouded in secrecy. And as I've recently announced, and as you all know, I am Kinsmarck here on the channel. Where you're from. I am from Austin, Texas, and I know I've already answered some of these questions in the past, however I aim to complete this challenge in earnest. Pronounce the following words. Alright, I know, and many of you are aware, I have a certain thing for accents, and so my voice is rather malleable, so I'll attempt to keep my pronunciation of these to as close to the original versions as I was taught when I was much younger as I can. Alright, so ant, roof, root, theater, iron, salmon, caramel, fire, water, New Orleans, pecan, both, again, probably, Alabama, lawyer, coupon, mayonnaise, pajamas, caught, naturally, aluminum, GIF, and it's GIF, not GIF. I don't care what the creator of GIF says it's pronounced like, because it stands for graphical interface. You've heard this rant. It's not GIF, damn it, it's GIF. First, it's an acronym. Alright, I've made my point. Tumbler, crackerjack, doorknob, envelope, and G-poi? What is that? I have no idea what that is. So I'll just pronounce it Gpoi. Gpoi is how we're pronouncing that. God, now I sound like I'm from Boston. Alright, what is it called when you throw toilet paper on a house? Alright, so this is getting kind of cultural. So that wasn't a very common thing where and when I was raised. However, I think we'd call that TPing a house, or toilet papering a house. What is a bubbly carbonated drink called? It's depending upon where exactly one is in Texas. It's such a vast land that it kind of varies. It's usually either a Coke or a soda. I myself usually just call it a soda, and as a fun fact that I'm not sure I've ever mentioned on the channel, I can't stand soda. I have nothing against it. It's just I'm one of those weird people that cannot stand the taste of carbonation in drinks, and so if it's carbonated, odds are I do not like it. What do you call gym shoes? I lack special shoes for the gym. So I guess I would just call them gym shoes, or tennis shoes, because that's what I would wear to the gym. What do you call your grandparents? Alright, I have some varied answers to that question, and a funny story to go with it. So, my mother's parents, sadly I was never able to meet my grandfather, and my mother was actually adopted, so I've met my genetic grandmother a couple of times, and I call her her first name, as she was never really a thing in my life until just a few years ago. So that's what I call her, and my adoptive grandma that's what I call her, my grandma. I was never able to meet my adoptive grandpa as he died prior to my coming into this world, and so the funny story comes into my dad's side of the family. I call my grandpa Pa, because I was apparently small and didn't like multiple syllabic words, and so I shortened Papa and Grandpa just down to Pa. So that's not a name for a father figure, it's a grandfatherly figure in my case. And the funniest story is that when I was very little, I apparently had some issues with the pronunciation of grandma, so that I just kind of slurred it like an infantile drunk, and it just kind of came out, Oma, and that eventually kind of clarified into Oma as a small child. And I never realized, and I'm not sure any of my family actually knew, or ever told me at least, until I was already well into my teens, that apparently Oma is actually German for grandmother. And I'm like 75% German in my ancestry, so that was kind of a weird revelation to come across when I was younger. Alright, what do you call the wheeled contraption in which you carry groceries at the supermarket? Wow, that's a weird way to neutrally describe that object. I would just call it a shopping cart. I know there's a lot of different various terms for that around the world. However, at least where I come from, that's shopping cart. What is the thing you change the TV channel with? I call it a remote, however, several people in my family also call it a clicker, so that's got some variations to the answer. Choose a book and read a passage from it. I was not aware I needed some prep material. I have one in arm's reach, so I have the Dungeons & Dragons Planar Handbook. Yeah, I am that kind of nerd that this is within arm's reach of my desk. And so I'll share with you all a passage about one of my favorite settings in all of the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. Sigil. I know it's in some circles pronounced sigil or sigil. I pronounce it sigil. I know, I'm a heretic. The most famous planar metropolis of all is the city of Sigil. Located at the center of the Outer Planes and built on the inner surface of an enormous ring, Sigil claims to be the true crossroads of the multiverse. The city is ruled by the dreaded Lady of Pain, an enigma credited with enormous power, including the ability to bar divine beings from her realm. And I'm sorry if that was copyrighted content. Hey, the thing told me to choose a passage and to read it, and read it I did. Do you think you have an accent? No, why do you ask? I'm sorry. So, I suppose I have a small accent, just a small one. But what do you think? I'm not so sure I have one. I'm not so sure. I think I have multiple, in fact. I think I've got a great many. So, as far as my actual voice, I think I have a little of one. I'm not sure anyone doesn't, because I think all languages that have any amount of variation, which is to say those who are practiced by anything over several thousand people, I'm not sure there's ever actually like a neutral version of it. I'm not sure there's a default of any given language, and so everything is some manner of accent or dialect. And so even though I don't necessarily consider myself to have a drawl per se, even though I sometimes do slip into some of my younger year habits of saying things like y'all and such, I don't think I have as pronounced an accent as many, I'll say. Would you rather be a wizard or a vampire? I am unsure what in the hell that has to do with accents. However, I suppose a wizard. I have a favorite D&D character relevant to what I was reading a moment ago, and he's a wizard, and within that particular system, wizards are capable of all-powerful amounts of power and immortality, and the capability of creating entire planes and realms and worlds of their own, and conquering entire planes. So yeah, wizard. Do you know anyone on Tumblr in real life? A few, and I've, let's see, I know, without naming names, as I'm not sure who's comfortable receiving the name and the call-out, I know 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 in person, and I know several more than that. I'm not sure I could actually quantify it off the top of my head, through frequent interaction via Skype calls and things of that nature. So yeah. End audio post by saying any 3 words you want. Tabernacle, because it's just so fun to say. Wistful, as I'm wistfully attempting to come up with any interesting or humorous words to say. And epitome, as I've known several people who were kind of embarrassed to realize that it's not pronounced epitome, it is in fact pronounced epitome, and I've had to correct several people about it. So, I think that concludes the accent challenge. So, I was tagged from our very own Nomad Noah, whom I've featured on live streams and have collaborated with on a couple of times, and I think this is the part where I nominate some other people to complete this challenge. And off the top of my head, I think I'll nominate Mr. Whiskers of A Gamer's Dance Studio. I think I'll throw this Northern, and I'll ask Ghost, one of my other usual suspects, and to round this out to a third, I think I'll toss this across the sea, and to keep things a little more culturally interesting and diverse, I'll lastly nominate Scarlet Lightning, one of our other viewers, whom I think will add a certain little bit of Aussie flavor to his version, his rendition of this particular challenge. So, thank you all for joining me, and thank you all kindly for watching the Accent Challenge. I had some fun with this, and as I've mentioned, I've wanted to do some more vlogs and some kind of silly stuff like this to kind of lighten things up every now and again, and then kind of shake up the schedule a little. So, thank you all kindly for watching. I am Kinsmarck here at Last Level Press, and as always, I wish you all good gaming and Godspeed.